Okay. You good? We good. Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Humanhood series, brought to you by yours truly, Melanie Peralta and
Casey Riley.
The conversation that is committed to humanizing your human experience and making personal development more personal. Today, we have an incredible guest for you and somebody who is so near and dear to my heart. Someone who has actually journeyed alongside me through some of the most pivotal peaks of my life and my career. This is my amazing soul brother, Princeton Clark. Everybody, he is a coach, he is an author, he is a father, a leader. You got a new book coming out?
Mm-hmm.
What's the book?
The Legacy Blueprint.
The Legacy Blueprint. Okay, we'll dive into that after we dive into your personal life because I really want to hear about that.
I'm ready.
Yeah, but I'm super excited to have him here. This is a really special episode for me. And we haven't seen each other in how long has it been?
It's been close to a year because the last time we saw each other was the retreat, Natalie's retreat.
Shut up. Okay, so this is going to be a personal catch up and a podcast for you guys because this man is constantly evolving, constantly growing. I know there's some new lady in your life, and I've always really admired how you show up in love and romance and partnership. So I really want to dive into the conversation of masculine leadership and fatherhood with you, Princeton, because throughout the years, you have been somebody that I have heavily leaned on for high quality masculine guidance and support just because of, well, one, your journey. Like your journey has set you up so beautifully for you to really embody everything that you teach, which I want to give you some time to talk about that. But you've been somebody that I've leaned on a lot. And there's a lot of times when me and Casey are like, we want to share our friends, our people in our life with our community because I feel very spoiled all the time. And I always tell people I have so many high quality male relationships in my life that pour into me. And I know a lot of people don't have that. So today you're going to be our audience's bestie, brother, mentor, coach, leader, homie, all the things, all the things. So will you formally introduce yourself to everybody, Princeton, and just share who you are and what you bring into the world?
Awesome. Yeah. And first off, thank you for that awesome introduction. I'm sitting here smiling and I'm sitting here trying to be all calm and copacetic, and it warms my heart. It makes me want to blush. I'm like, it feels really good right now, you know. But it's always a very human experience with you, you know, and your community. Like all of you are such special people, and I say a lot of the times before I get into talking about the work and all that stuff, I often say that the people who impacted me the most in my life were women. My grandmother was the first person from the time I was born until she passed that always said you would be great one day, you know, and my aunts, you know, my grandparents, all of them, they were just very pivotal in my life, and they really set a standard for me. And for a lot of my early life, I won't get into too much of it now, but for a lot of my early life, I judged myself and I was so hard on myself because I wasn't living up to that standard. But instead of facing myself and really looking into it, I masked it, you know, and became the complete opposite of what I really wanted at a soul level. But for everybody out there who doesn't know me, before I take off and start talking, my name is Princeton Clark. I've been in the coaching, speaking, leading, guiding space for over 2 decades. Gosh, 23, 24 years now. And you know, my heart is soul evolution because I feel like everything that we are souls. We are spirits on a journey having a different human experience. And everything starts from within. Everything starts there. And for me, that's where it started. There's a lot of accolades. You know, Mel and I work with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi together. I've written, at this point, 3 books. And a 4th one is on the way. Bestseller. One of my books went bestseller. And I've just gotten to work with a lot of amazing people. The accolades really don't mean as much to me. You know, my main focus and expertise has always been self-mastery. because I always say you are the root to the tree of your life. If you don't like the fruit absent in the branches, you got to come back to the root, which is you. And then you have to take responsibility for that and accountability, and then learn how to embody the wisdom from within so that your external doesn't dictate to you how you show up, who you show up as, the reality that you create. You are in 100% control of how you get to show up and determine the fruit of your life in any branch of the tree of your life. And my heart is just for people, for the souls of people, the minds of people, the potential of people, the beauty of people. Humans, to me, people laugh at me a lot of the times because I talk about humans like humans are funny, like as though I'm not human. And it's like, we are these powerful beings with the capacity to create, innovate, manifest the most amazing things, and we keep ourselves in such little containers. Our titles, our roles, our position, the money that we make, all these different things. And I feel like my purpose on earth is to guide people back to their power, back to their potential, back to their purpose, and let that be the root that everything else thrives from. Whether I'm talking business, entrepreneurship, leadership development, working with men or women. 80% of my clients are women.
Which is crazy to me because I feel like you have so much medicine for men.
But the thing about men is a lot of times, because I've thought about this a lot over the years, why do more women come to me, or why do they get the results faster even than men? And it's because I feel that when women get to I won't say a broken place, but when women get to that place where they've hit a rock bottom, or they've come to the fork in the road, or they're ready for change, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same things. They've already accepted, for the most part, that they're playing a role in creating it. So it's a lot easier to communicate to women, because a lot of women are coming in already, when as a man, you know how to create a safe space. When they're already at that point, and then I can create that safe space and then speak to the power of what they are, which most of them in many cases have never had anyone in their life communicate that way to them, especially in the masculine. I've had several of my clients say, you feel really safe. On the other hand, you have men come in and they see how I portray myself, and they see strength, and they see power, they see self-control. And so when they show up, it's almost like they show up in this masculine energy, like, I've read all the stuff and I'm just ready to take the steps. And it's like, do you understand what the steps even are? And are you willing to look at yourself so raw in the mirror that you can take this facade off that you're wearing right now? Because if you're going to work with me, I need you to be willing to fully expose yourself. Every role that you have played in your life up to this point. I don't want to see the macho you. I don't want to see the you that's been wearing masks your entire life because you were never taught how to emotionally regulate. And as a result, you wear masks for everyone now, while saying, I want a healthy relationship, while saying, I want to create success. You're not even vulnerable to yourself yet. And women come and they're naturally more vulnerable than men. And it's no fault to a lot of the men out there, because you were never taught how to be vulnerable. As a matter of fact, society taught you not to be. And what I found is that as a man, it takes more strength to be vulnerable than it does to be strong. And I found so much power in that. But it doesn't matter who you put in front of me. If they're open, if they're vulnerable, if they're truly in a space where they're saying, I'm ready to evolve my life. Everything about my brand, Evolved Mastery, which is now Evolved Mastery Global, is, the colors of it are black, white, and gold. And it represents the darkness that you traverse to find the light of your being in order to turn all those rough moments or challenges in your life into pure gold. It's about alchemy. And so teaching people how to alchemize their life, how to turn what they keep defining as bad into something beautiful. Because nothing, as we were talking even before getting on here, nothing in your life happens to you. It's all happening for you. And we can hear that and conceptualize, that makes sense. But do we truly understand what that means? And man, with self-mastery, there's so many different areas that you can hit, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, professionally. But
I'm actually curious because, we think of the concept of self-mastery, and that sounds like such a powerful, potent concept that it feels a little bit abstract sometimes, and even out of reach for some people. And I think what gets missed is, what does that actually look like in regular, average, daily human life? Like, what is my expression of self mastery from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. when I'm momming, when I'm grocery shopping, when I'm, what does that look like? What does it look like for you in your life?
Well, I always say, because you're right, a lot of people look at self mastery from the perspective of like, I gotta master my life. It's like this force. It's this really masculine energy. But I say that the reason true self mastery is powerful is because self mastery is not about force at all. It's about surrender. And every day in my life, from the moment my life changed, I've surrendered not to the weakness, not to the excuses, not to the stories that I used to tell. Every day I wake up, whether I've assessed myself as a father or a partner, I'm always evolving because I'm surrendering to the version of me that's authentically aligned with the results and the desires and the wants of my life. Because as a father, number one, like I haven't always been the best provider as a father, especially being an entrepreneur,
Right.
growing up in an area where you weren't taught these things. I had to teach myself, but in every other area as a partner, I didn't know what I know. But again, self mastery for me was all about surrender. And I base it in the tenets of, we talk about like love and creating love and joy and peace in your life. Well, all of those things are states of being. So in my life, if I don't feel joy, if I don't feel love, I don't feel peace, whether it's as a father or a partner, as a leader, then I have to come back to those tenets first and ask myself, where am I surrendering my love? Starting with me first. Where am I not honoring me? Where am I not honoring my potential? Where am I not honoring the way that I get to show up in my life that's not bringing me peace, that's not creating joy in my life, that's not creating that expansive love? Because self-mastery, when I surrender to the power of what I have the potential and purpose to be, it automatically pulls me into this place where there are no problems for me anymore. There's only opportunities to grow. And so if you're out there and you're like, maybe you've heard self-mastery, maybe you haven't, I feel like it's pretty generic at this point. When I started talking about it, you didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. But I feel like there's a lot of noise out there right now. And I just want to say, for you guys listening, if you want to master your life, understand mastery is not about forcing something and trying to make something happen. Mastery is about really taking responsibility and a high level of ownership over how you choose to create and show up in your life. If it does not bring you joy, if it does not create peace in your life, if those relationships don't align with the results or the betterment of you being able to expand in that wiser, more efficient, more loving, more connected version of you, then you have to find those things and seek out mentors. You have amazing people right here. I'm open. But there's a lot of great people out here who will show you the path back to you. I always say a great teacher doesn't lead you to something outside of yourself. They lead you back to yourself. And so I feel like most people, they're just outside of themselves and they've surrendered to all the noise. They've surrendered to all the stories. They've surrendered to all the things that didn't happen or should have happened and all these different things. But it's really time to get real with yourself. And self-mastery is about really surrendering and building and developing that relationship with yourself where you can be completely and authentically honest about how you are showing up in your life.
I feel like I had that experience. You have those experiences all the time, right? Like, it's not just a one and done. They're constantly coming in these different chapters and seasons and phases. And that's where I was when I decided not to renew my contract with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And so I was just like, I was telling you about that recently. I was just like, I got to this point where I'm like, this isn't bringing me joy anymore. And I don't love it anymore. And in fact, because I don't love it and it's not bringing me joy, I'm not giving it my all. And I'm kind of sucking. I'm like unintentionally, intentionally sucking at this. Just not giving it 100% because I don't care about it as much anymore. And that's not fair and that's not right. But how scary is it to leave the comfort of this financial income? How scary is it to leave the title that has, given me so much credibility throughout the years? You know what I'm saying? So it was like really, really hard to leave something like that. But for me, it was a part of my self mastery and surrendering more to my joy and my freedom, because ever since I left that, then I've been able to focus on and prioritize more the Melanie Peralta brand and Melanie Peralta Creations and the Humanhood series and just all of these different things. So I think it's important for people to even see what that looks like, because that could be something as simple as like getting out of the relationship, and or like leaving the job or starting to go to the gym or stop yelling at your kids all day, or like there's like these tiny little human moments where the self-mastery really gets exercised.
Yeah, 100%. It is when you finally start to realize life through that lens, life becomes so much more clear for you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are living lives in survival. We're living lives to measure up. We're living lives to fit in.
And as victims.
Right.
Victim mentality. When I met Arvin, like one of the big, Arvin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, yeah.
One of the big things that he taught me was self-responsibility. And so I had this moment of like this awareness in my life that I realized everything that I had created, like good and bad, I did it. I did it. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't be blaming anyone or circumstances or anything. It's literally all me. And that was so painful to like feel that in the moment. But then it turned into this like, oh, it's all me. Like I have the power to change all of this. And so that's been my experience with that. But the victim mentality is like a huge one.
And I think that's where a lot of people are, right? Because we look at, well, this hasn't happened for me, or why do they get to be in the good relationship? Why did I have to go through these things, but these people didn't have to? Why wasn't my mom there? Why wasn't my dad there? Why couldn't I have a healthy family? And one thing that I learned in my life is that with every one thing, because there are things that happen that you can't control externally. But I always say you always have the power to choose how you're going to respond to it, because it's your responses that ultimately create your reality. It's your perception that ultimately shapes how you choose to show up in your life. But one of the biggest epiphanies that I had that really set me on the path of self-mastery, for those of you who don't know me, when I was younger, I was abused. Mentally, physically, verbally, and emotionally. I was molested between the ages of 9 and 11. I struggled with deep depression. I was on medication for ADD and ADHD, hyperactivity, from the time that I was in first grade until about 8th grade, when I had an epiphany, that I didn't have a problem. I actually had a gift. And so for all my neurodivergent people out there, there's a lot to say about that too. You're actually really gifted in a linear system. When you are connected to everything, you're able to tune in on so many different levels, but that system was not created for you to be expansive, to create, to innovate, to evolve, and be the fullness of what you are. But through that, after everything that happened, I struggled with deep depression for a very long time. Barely ended up graduating high school, could have had a D1 scholarship in track and field. And when I got out of school, I ended up drinking a lot, using drugs, selling drugs. I was an alcoholic before I turned 21. Like, I've been in shootouts. I've seen things that, like I always say, most people only see on TV. But I got married at the age of 21 because one thing that I always knew is that I want to be a father. Like, I want to give my kids the love I never got. And that's not a hit to my parents, because my parents and my father and I talk all the time now. And, we talk about how there's no blueprint to parenting. Like, there's no one way to parent every child, because they're all divinely unique. And that's why I say my kids are my greatest teachers.
And you have how many of them?
6.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. All of them are my babies, soul babies.
That makes me so happy to know that there's 6 children out there who are being fathered by you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's been a journey too. There's been a lot of healing there with me being out of the relationship with their moms and, growing through those phases. But, going back to what I was saying, one of the biggest epiphanies that I had that led me to these deeper, more expansive epiphanies was, despite all that stuff happening to me, and this was at the age of 23, I'm sitting in my car, at this point I have 2 kids, 1 on the way. I've been married for going on 3 years at this point, and I'm just feeling worthless, like no matter what I do, it's not good enough. and all the victim stories are playing. And I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, I'm just tired. I'm ready to go. And I took my gun out of my seat. And I took a breath, and I just crazy because when I took that breath, I felt so peaceful, like finally I'm going to be able to rest. And I put the gun in my head and pulled the trigger, and it misfired. And it was like everything in me, my entire body got hot. My body started feeling like it was just shaking, like vibrating. And I don't know if that's what they would call it, but like, I don't know how long I sat there before I realized, like, I'm looking back over my life, everything that happened. They say your life flashes before your eyes. And so I think this is probably the closest representation as far as my own personal experience. But after I sat there for a while, I looked at myself and I was like, I just received this epiphany. You're not where you are because of what happened to you. You're where you are because of how you chose to respond to it. And I was so raw at that moment that when that landed, just like with you and Arvin, it was just like, as an adult, every decision I have made has created this reality. I couldn't control what happened when I was a kid. But as an adult who's in full charge of my life, every reality that I have created or chosen to play a part in or co-create with someone else, it's my responsibility, my ability to respond, and how I've chosen to respond has created these experiences in my life. And that set me free because I asked the deeper question, well, if I can respond in a way to create a life that I don't love, how much more power do I have to create a life that I do love if I start living like I give a damn about me? Not about what people think or what people haven't done, not about the stories, not about the all the things that people didn't do and how people didn't show up for me, but how much power did I really have if I took all that energy and I put it into me every single day? And from that moment the second part of that was from the moment that gun misfired and then I had this epiphany, the realization, I literally went through everything in my head. Like, the fact is I'd shot this gun so many times, never misfired, never had a problem with it. But the moment that I would go to shoot or end my life, take my life, that would be the bullet that would be in the chamber. And I shot every other bullet out the rest of that. That was the only one that misfired.
It's crazy.
And so you think about the whole process. Like, people talk about divine intervention. Like, that bullet would be placed in that case in the factory after it had been developed, packaged, sent out. I would be the one that buy it. And at that point, when I decide, like, there is so much that's freaking happening on our behalf and we don't even see it most of the time.
It's so true.
And after that happened, I realized that from the moment that bullet misfired in that chamber, every breath that I would breathe was a gift. It's easy to say it, tomorrow's not promised, every day is a gift. But for me, it became real. It became law. Like, I'm not going to complain anymore. I'm not going to be negative anymore. I don't have time to focus on who did what, who didn't do what, and why. That's not my concern. All I have is this moment. And I don't care who I have to outgrow. I don't care what circumstances I have to leave. I don't care, because if it doesn't serve me, it doesn't deserve me. If it's not in the flow, I let it go. And that's when the journey really began for me.
Did you successfully live that way, or were there challenges throughout? Because it's easy to say that and to commit to it, but then the process of doing it, like, was it challenging for you to live that way?
Oh, it was very challenging in the beginning. Like, so much so that for that first year, I isolated myself from everybody because I didn't trust myself to be in those environments anymore. And I mean, I got to this point where I would wake up every day and I was just reading, because I grew up in the Bible Belt of Virginia. So all I really knew was the Bible. I didn't know all the other stuff that I now know. And so I didn't go back to church because there were pastors in my community that said I was a lost cause, like, because I didn't care about anything. Like, I got into a point where I was like, I'm done, but anyway, when that happened, like, after that day, I quit drinking cold turkey. I quit using drugs cold turkey, like, all of it. Like, I gave it all up.
That was my next question. Like, the next day, like, how did you feel?
I literally woke up, and the only other person whose story I've ever read that was almost identical to mine was Eckhart Tolle, when he talks about his awakening experience and how, like, after that happened, like, colors seemed brighter.
Dude, I went through that too. It wasn't in the same way, but I do remember that part through my journey where I went outside and the trees, I was like, you're alive.
It's like everything
everything looked different.
it literally felt like, and there were a couple of other experiences that happened after that, but I say often when I looked in the mirror, it was later in that week, and I had another experience, and I remember being in the floor and crying and saying, if there's any other way for me to do this, whatever hell I got to go through to be what I was created to be, take me through it. And I remember this knowing, I always say the knowing, or people call it the voice, but just spoke to me and said, you were never sent to die, you were sent to live. And because I was like, I will die for this. And that feeling, like, you weren't meant to die, you were meant to live. And when I remember, it felt like this weight just fell off of me. And when I stood up and got out of the floor, like, I had cried so much, but when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see Princeton anymore. I didn't see the pain. I didn't feel the anger, like none of that. And it was just this radical shift. Some people call it the Kundalini awakening, when you awaken so deeply at once. And I think we all can experience a phase of that when we're truly seeking and doing the journey. But for me, when that happened, I didn't engage the world the same. I didn't feel the same. It was like everything that was before that night didn't exist anymore. It was like a movie playing in my mind. Like, I could remember everything, but it was like, was that me? Like, I remember like thinking, like, how could I be that lost? Like, how could I not see all these things and all the roles that I played that created the reality? Like, and it really helped me through that process, even when I had to disconnect from people and I started seeking, like reading the Bible. Like I said, that's all I really knew at the time. It took me to this place where I was just seeking people who had that type of experience. Like, cause I changed so fast. And I was like, are there other people who this has happened to? So the Bible was the only thing.
I was one of them.
And I've met others, on the journey since then. But I started going through the Bible and I realized there were other stories that received divine messages or knowings, and it changed the trajectory of their lives. But what really shifted me was, and this was the most powerful, was when I was reading the message of Jesus, and he's been beaten beyond recognition. Everybody that was with him has left him based on the story. And he's been nailed to this cross and he's hanging up there and he looks out over the people after all this torture and torment. And he says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I started bawling. And I remember sitting there that day on the couch and thinking to myself, if I can't teach me to love like that, because if I can't love like that, I don't want to live. That love sets you so free to such a degree that there's nothing you can do to permeate what I am. And I just started going deep. And that's why I always say love is my religion. Everything, how I treat my kids, how I treat my partners, how I treat the people around me. And that doesn't mean it's soft and ooey gooey. It's like, love is a force. Mm-hmm. That means I will be honest with you, even if I know you might not like it, because I care too much for you, and it just took me down this whole path. And then I actually went back to school, got a bachelor's in biblical studies and Eastern religion, and became a pastor. But I didn't become a pastor to become religious. I became a pastor because as I was studying, I started studying the original languages, and I realized so much was taught wrong. And I decided I'm going to be like Neo in the Matrix. Like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to teach this stuff right. 5 years, tried, didn't work. I impacted a lot of people while in that space, but after 5 years.
While you were a pastor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And doing ministry and traveling and speaking, like, I impacted a lot of people. And at the end of it, I just got to this point where that voice just came to me again and said, you can't use the system to change the system. You must become something new. And so that's when I stepped down. At this point, I'm on fire. Like, I would go to Barnes and Noble, and that's when I started studying, spirituality, conscious psychology, human motivations, emotional intelligence, and this whole world opened up to me. And the freedom that I felt in it, I would read sometimes 5 to 15 hours a day. Not on social media scrolling. Oh, that was a good clip. Oh, that was a good clip. Like, I was digesting what I was reading. I would take notes, and if there was something that specifically spoke to me, I would walk down the book aisle, and this is how I would pick books that I would read. I would close my eyes, and I would walk, and I would just go down until I got to a point to stop. And every time when I picked that book up, I would open it up, and it would be exactly what I was seeking that day. And those would be the books that I would read. And so it's like, along with the massive shift, my intuition at that time was super high. And
then obviously, like, you have this divine guidance, like the angels that one saved your life, but I'm sure like are guiding you out throughout this process as well.
Oh, 100%. And I had spiritual experiences. I would have visions all the time. Like, people talk about deja vu. Like, I would have it to such a degree that I could tell you what was going to happen next. I would see things, and months later, it would manifest exactly how I say it. Things would pop up to me, and I wasn't one of those people who was like, man, I wonder how this is going to work out, how that's going to work out. The moment I saw it, I would literally start saying, this is about to happen.
Do you still have that?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's only gotten stronger the more, just the more healing I've done, the more clear that I am. I did not even realize I had access to this stuff, and it kind of trips me out sometimes. I'm like, am I psychic?
Everybody's psychic.
Yeah.
Everybody's psychic, but we're just unconscious to our power where
Yeah.
we don't have access to it. And it hasn't been something that's strengthened. I actually saw a clip last night on Instagram of, I think it might have been in India, but it was a teacher who teaches a class, intuition class for children. And they all look like they were like 6 or 7, and they had these blindfolds on, and she's on the board and she drew a picture of a tree. And then all the kids, they have to draw what they think she did. And I'm sure there's like certain symbols that they've already seen that they've been working with, because they all drew the same exact tree that looked just like hers, but they all knew it was the tree. And so like they're being trained for that right now. Can you imagine if we had to grow up and then like clear our bodies and clear our minds and then start feeling this way, and still till today, I don't know about you, but I'm not like strengthened enough in it to be able to access it whenever I want. I tune into it when I tune into it.
You know, and you know this about me, I stay to myself a lot. Outside of
You
my
do,
kids.
yo. You are the ultimate hermit crab. For real. I'm going to call you out because he's the ultimate hermit crab who does have a deep desire to be social. What's up with you?
Well, because I go through phases.
Like me.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm all, I want to come, but no.
She's like, I want to come, but what time is it at?
Right. You know, but it's for me, it's I love being social, but I'm intentional about where I socialize.
And who.
Yeah,
Yes,
100%. It's like, I love people, but some people, I say, I gotta love you from a distance. Like, you're too noisy. You have too much energy and drama with you. Like, you have so many stories going that even listening to you talk exhausts me.
Yes, I feel that.
And so it's like, when I'm by myself, I'm just in that mode. Like, I don't turn my TV on most of the time. It's like, I'm just walking around and I'm just listening. I say all the time, like, I have better conversations with myself than I do with most people.
Literally same. I talk to myself all day, every day, out loud. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, like, if people saw me right now, they probably think I was crazy. And I'm literally talking like that out loud in my kitchen as I'm making a sandwich or cooking something to eat. And I'm just like, and late night when I get delirious, when all the thoughts, when the world is calmed down and now you're just wide open and it's so peaceful, and then all the stuff starts coming through and I'm like dancing in the kitchen, and like, I have a good time with myself. Like, I love me. Like, I love my life. I love that I get to wake up every day and I get to choose the state. I get to choose what I create. I get to choose who I associate with, what I give my energy to. I am so in charge of me and so in charge of my life that I'm very conscious where I put my energy, you know, because I do genuinely love people, but we all know as guys, as coaches, as people in this space or any space of growth who've done it for any measurable amount of time, we all know that there are people out there who haven't learned how to do those things for themselves. And with all the best intentions in the world, like, they want to connect with you and talk to you all the time and pull on your energy because they haven't learned how to produce that energy for themselves.
Yes.
Like, and for me, it's like, I know when I'm sharing something, I share from a very deep place. Yeah. And so I'm a hermit, but if you look back, Buddha, Confucius, you know, Jesus, all these different people, you know,
He's Jesus.
they're my homeboys. Like, you know, when you think about even like the great philosophers, you know, Plato, Socrates, like, these are people that I studied a lot in the beginning of my journey. Stoicism, like, what does it mean? Because I felt this deep love and compassion. And this is something that I will say for a lot of men, spiritually speaking. A lot of men, when they learn to heal, they move so heavily into the self-love part in a way that it's not completely in unison with what they are in their masculine. And so a lot of men, you see them moving more into their more into their feminine as they start working through the self-love. And it feels so good to be there because in most cases they were never nurtured. And so it's almost like they learn to self-soothe and self-love, but to some degree they disconnect from the masculine, the primal, the infrastructure, the visionary, the creator, the space holder, the hunter gatherer, like versions of themselves. And this is what we see in society. We see a lot of men, either they're way far right, unhealed, aggressive, angry, or maybe they're just shut down altogether because they don't feel safe in the world. They never have felt safe in the world. Or you have the far left, where there's people who they dove deep into the heavy work, got into like all the modalities and plant medicines, and now they've had these awakening experiences, and now they want to teach other men. And I'm like, that's just the beginning.
The spiritual Steves that Casey was talking about.
Yes, like you're just scratching the surface. It's like when you truly wake up, like when I look in the mirror, Princeton, this idea, that's all he is. Princeton is an idea. What I am is so much more than who I think I am. And so what I find in a lot of the quote unquote spiritual spaces, because we're all spiritual beings, our level of consciousness in that awareness of spirituality is what determines how we show up, or the gifts that we can access, or the level at which we can access those things. But there's something to be said when you see all the guys like making all the noise. And I'm like, yeah, find a way to release, but also find a way to take full ownership and take action, create, manifest, evolve. You shouldn't be talking about the same thing this year that you were talking about 2 years ago. You shouldn't still be posting things about toxic exes. Like, I'm so over that. Like,
literally.
Toxic masculinity, toxic femininity. No, they're not tapped into their femininity. They're not tapped into their masculinity. Right. It's not toxic. It's absent.
Right.
And that's the difference. It's like when I hear men in the spiritual space, you know, and they're talking about stay away from these toxic relationships and this toxic masculine, or these toxic women, these toxic feminine. It's like, you do realize you're attracting that, right? You do realize that you're playing a role because some part of you is seeking validation through an experience that you believe you need to have, that you believe this person can give to you. And then when they show up as incomplete people because you were incomplete and you attracted incompleteness into your life, now you want to blame them and say, oh, they're narcissists, they're toxic. No, you're not. Both of you were just incomplete within yourselves, and two halves will never make a whole. And as a man, you have to take ownership of that because, number one, were you able to even create a safe space when you first entered into that relationship? Did you know how to have a conscious conversation? Did you know how to just sit there and not try to delegate or regulate her state of being or how she was feeling constantly with logic? And I get it. We are logical people or logical beings, and women are more emotional. But in just being able to create a safe space, logic can be reached inherently when you just give a space to just let them talk. It's not always about you. The experience, you're mirroring to each other. And so when you come together as half of yourself, then you connect with her and she's half of herself. Guess what? You're going to mirror the halves of yourselves that are incomplete. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. There's just a space where we have to evolve, take ownership, take responsibility of how we're showing up, what we're creating space for. Because out there, another thing that I can't stand is when you hear the spirituals people. I told y'all, don't get me started on this.
He's on a roll.
But it's like, because I just observe. I observe a lot. And I'm like, when you're in this space and it's like, oh, she made me feel this way or he made me feel this way. Nobody has the power to make you feel anything unless you give that power away. Now, if someone says to me, oh, you made me feel this way, it's not that I made them feel some type of way. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening in most of these relationships or most of these experiences. You come in. You have an expectation that's usually higher than the expectation that you actually have for yourself, because you expect them to fill some void for you to make you feel safe, feel complete, or feel like this is the one. And before that can happen, you keeping your options open. You're still entertaining all these other things. But despite that, you keep moving in the relationship. Now, this person you say makes you feel some type of way. It's not that they made you feel some type of way. What actually happened was You judge them because they didn't show up based on your expectation. It's the feeling of judgment that you're now carrying through the arguments that you're mentally having in your brain over and over and over again, where your focus goes, your energy flows, that you're sending into your body. You're flooding your body with this energy. And now you're saying they're making you feel this way. No, your judgment is making you feel this way, because instead of saying, you know what, they are who they are, I am who I am, I responded this way, they responded to this way, and people respond based on what they have experienced or what they have not experienced, especially if they haven't done the work. So external factors influence how they show up. And so you have to take responsibility for what you choose to feel. I can stab you, punch you, do all these things physically to hurt you. Emotionally, I can't make you feel anything, because your feelings are a product of what you think. They're a product of your stories. They're a product of your BS, whether you call it belief systems or bullshit. It's all stinking up your life and keeping you from being the fullness of what you are, male or female. Let's remove the labels of toxic this, toxic that. You're just spirits on a journey having different human experiences. And this was the realization I had to have with myself. As a man, I am 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life, in my control. And there's only one thing that I ever expect from myself, and that's for me to show up every single day to be a wiser, more efficient, more loving, more compassionate, more empathetic, more connective person in my life. And if I show up and come up short in that day I'm taking ownership of it. You know, in both my past relationships, I can look back and say, oh, well, this happened and that happened and she didn't do this or she did that. And it's like, at the end of the day, we had an experience I attracted based on where I was. And as a result, their experiences started co-creating with my experiences. It created turmoil. It created disconnect. It created disharmony. And so when I look back, it's like, okay, the part that I can take is that as a man, I made room for that in my life. Or as a woman, you made room for that in your life. So now we have to set a standard. And that standard starts with you. Like, how are you showing up? You know, and I could go on and on. There's a plethora of things that I could talk about, but yeah, just breathe for a moment. Let you guys.
Take it all in, y'all. Take it all in. That's going to be some serious social media content right there.
And that's what we like to call radical responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything you just went on right now is when I had my little epiphany. It wasn't with those exact scenarios, but like, oh my gosh, this is all me, my reality, my thoughts, my actions, my, you know, like I created this. Even like, yes, other people are involved, but at the end of the day, like, I'm the main contributor.
Mm-hmm.
I really am.
The main character in your movie.
Yes, that was gold. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question though. Because I'm over here single in my relationship, and you were directly on the other end of my last long-term relationship. And in fact, when it was coming to the end, I called you and I was like, we are to the point where we need someone to hold space for us. Like, and we didn't want to go to like a stranger or something. And so we came to you, and you literally talked with both of us for hours and hours and hours. And so, okay, even for me, all right, let's get fucking personal real quick.
We're set.
Yeah, so, you know, even for me, like, I am well aware that relationships are my greatest area of growth and like my greatest area of self-mastery in my life. I'm very well-rounded and well put together in so many other areas of my life, but I realize that relationships are just the area of life that stretch me the most, that trigger me the most, and I feel like that's probably a thing for most people, actually. It's not just like unique to me, but I have not found my person, and I'm still, you know, out there. Actually, I was definitely like in a season of hardcore desiring partnership, but I've kind of like fizzled into really enjoying being single as of lately, especially after the last situation that I went through. But for me, with that conversation of like, we are always attracting exactly who we are and stuff like that. Sometimes I have a really fucking hard time seeing what I have attracted and being able to fully see how the fuck does that mirror me, you know? And
that's real.
you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I don't subscribe to that.
I see that you avoid that.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. I'm like,
Melanie, you keep choosing these guys.
these people, but I'm like, and so, okay, where was my question going? So, pretty much, okay. So, but the thing that I also have learned about relationships, especially just like things that I've listened to and things that I've read, but then also from my own experience, is we have been so programmed to look at relationships as this, either they're the one or they're not the one, and keep it pushing. Instead of relationships of all kinds being different types of teachers. Because I'll tell you what, as undesirable as so many of the experiences were that I went through in my last long-term relationship, that relationship made me a woman. I was not a woman before that relationship. That relationship made me a woman, and it taught me how to really be a woman for a man. And without that experience, I wouldn't have developed a lot of the things that I developed, because that person had the qualities and the characteristics and the capacity to come into my world and show me that, or make me love them enough to want to be that, you know? So it's like I've been operating in the dating world, you know, wanting to find that one and wanting to find my partner, and we're programmed to entirely reject and get away from anything that isn't that. But what I've experienced is, like, for some reason throughout my journey, I'm just going to say what it is, okay? I attract a lot of men, but I never feel drawn to 95% of them. Truly, like, there's nothing about they could have all the things, and for some reason I don't feel drawn to them at all. And then every now and then throughout my world, or now my romantic experience, I come across a soul in whatever, you know, like, flavor or avatar that they come in. I come across a soul that I feel so magnetized to. And because that is such a rare sensation for me, it's like an antenna that's like, there's something here for me. Maybe you're not it forever, but you're it for something, for some reason, and I know that, and I trust that. And that might seem unorthodox. And I talked about this at retreat. You know, I'm like, there's something here for me that I'm supposed to gain, that I'm supposed to learn, that I'm supposed to experience. And so, do you think that that's also a big thing? Is like, these people are meant to come into our, like, the season, reason, or a lifetime,
right,
type of thing, you know? And it's like, I can look at you and maybe I don't feel like the broken part of me attracted you, but I feel like there was something about your essence and your spirit that was meant to remind me of something in mine. Or because that's how I felt with the last guy that I dated. Like, that situation did not end up ideal, but it reminded me so much of, like, the artist in me, the Latina in me. There was, like, so many things that were activated in my soul and in my spirit from being with that person, that I'm like, gosh, I'm so glad that this is awakened again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What's powerful about that, because there is no right or wrong, good or bad way to meet another soul.
Yeah.
You know, we're all just on a journey trying to find our way, create our own blueprint, so to speak. And I think, you know, you look at the world and it's like, I don't want this type of man, I don't want this type of woman, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, become the version of you. Because what I found is, in relationships, my relationships have mirrored the fragmented parts of me, you know, because mentally, emotionally, or by the varying masks that we create to hide our pain, our traumas, and all these different things, when you're still healing certain parts of you, or there's certain levels that you grow to, that some things aren't going to appear until later. because spiritually you're not ready to process through it yet. And so you'll meet people along the way that kind of bring all those little fragmented pieces of you back together, which give you the opportunity to find your wholeness again. Every part of you, everything that makes you beautiful, everything that makes you amazing. And that's where I say, every person that I've met, like, and I'm not a serial dater. Like, I got to the point where I was like, if I have to be by myself for the rest of my life, I would, because I've done so much work to be the whole version of me. And that doesn't mean that version of me doesn't continually evolve. I haven't arrived. You never arrive. And ultimately, why would you want to? I feel like arriving finally would make life so boring. It's like, oh, I'm here now. Look at me. I'm an ascended master. Great. It means nothing. Like, I want to experience the fullness of this life. But that it's made me hyper intentional, though. And so now, because I truly love myself, I truly know what I want, and I'm truly in that strong masculine. And, like being in the relationship that I'm in now, we started our relationship having a lot of the hard conversations up front. In past relationships, a lot of the problems that came up because I was passive or I became nonchalant. You're like, okay, let's do it your way. Okay, all right. It's like, that's ego, And for all the men out there, like, if you are a passive aggressive man, it's your ego. It's like you wait for something to happen and you pretend you don't care, and then you hide the fact that you do care until you get mad. And because the little boy in you hasn't been healed, when that all happens and it all culminates into a lumped experience that you now don't like, you blow up, you shut down, you become just like that little child again. You throw your temper tantrums. And that's why I say, like, you're meeting grown men, grown women, but you're actually meeting their inner child too.
Yes.
So every part of them that has not healed is going to come up in that mirroring situation. And so if you can learn to see people in those spaces, if you learn as a masculine, as a man, to create a safe space, because I think women naturally want to create a safe space for men, what'll begin to happen is you can talk through things. You can have the hard conversations. And what I love about Sean is that we can have some of the hardest conversations. And
and that's your partner?
Yes.
Okay.
Sean is my partner. And recently we had an experience where there were things that happened. I won't really get into the story, but there was a lot that had come up, and it was making me feel some type of way, because I was like,
she can't make you feel any type of way.
No,
Remember that.
it was the circumstances, the situation was like, because I'm thinking on it, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And so I'm feeling a certain type of way now, because I'm like, I don't know. It was just, I won't get into it. But I reached this point where I had to really be honest and say, these feelings that are coming up have nothing to do with me.
Her feelings that were coming up?
Yeah. What they have to do with is X, Y, and Z. And like, she sat there and she didn't listen, like, because we don't argue or anything like that. Like, we're very communicative people.
Right.
And she sat there and she was like, wow, like, I see it. And so old me, I told her this, I was like, old me would have just been passive about it and I wouldn't have said anything. But I think there's a strength that we carry in the masculine that women actually want us to operate in. It's not that they want us to call them on their shit or whatever. It's not that. It's they actually feel safe when you're strong enough to create a healthy boundary and say, I love you so much that I'm not going to let this be the excuse. I'm not going to let this be the thing that drives us apart. I'm not going to let this be the thing that makes me shut down. I'm not going to let this be the thing that makes me get so in my feelings and so into Mr. Fix-It that I don't listen. And when you can do that, like, I've seen it so many times in this relationship, and I literally had to pat myself on the back and celebrate me for the work that I've done to get to this point as a man, because it is a privilege to be able to create a space for a woman. I believe women are some of the most powerful forces on this planet. They give birth to all life. How can you not see the power of what they have? You give a woman something, they incubate it. You give her nothing, she has nothing to incubate. So me creating a safe space for her to filter out all the things that she's been carrying and incubating, the emotions, the fears, the worries, the doubts, she's been carrying that, and it's been given birth to in her life. Because whatever a woman is holding is what she's going to create more of. mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Women are designed that way in their divinity. They're designed to give birth to more of whatever they incubate, they hold in their energetic field. And so as a man, this is also something I had to learn. Like, and I had to start asking myself the question, what am I giving my partner to hold? What am I giving her to hold? Like, I don't need to be macho. I got it on my own. I can make it by myself. No, I want to integrate you into my life. I want to give you something of mine to hold. Not everything, because you can't hold everything that I hold. You're not designed to. But just enough to hold so that you feel like you are an intricate part of me. Mm. And I want to be able to hold something that you carry. You know, from the beginning of our relationship, I came in when she would talk about what she was passionate about and what she cared about. My mind automatically goes to the place of, okay, how can I use the skills and the abilities and the gifts that I have to support her to build this? Oh, and I'm a manifesting generator, so I can manifest this really fast. If we do this. And so it's like, I want to expand your life, baby. Like, I want to.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
like, that's how I feel. Like, I want to help you be the most powerful version of you.
Y'all hear that? Take notes.
Say it with your chest. But that's really what it is, man. Like, to fully be in your masculine means you not only stand in your power to show up consistently for yourself, but because you've learned to love yourself, to take full ownership and responsibility for your life, any life that you now become the protector of, the progenitor of, the infrastructure for, now gets to receive that from you. Like, that is a privilege, but you have to work for that.
Yeah.
As men, I know it's easy. You know, we look at the world and there's a lot of people who are wounded on both sides.
Yeah.
Men and women. You know, or they're lost in the victim of being wounded. Because I may have been wounded as a child. It's not happening to me as an adult. So, yeah, it happened. I take ownership. Yeah, I was abused. And that did happen. And people hear me talk about it, and they're like, how can you talk about that so easily? Because it was a part of my experience. And because with every one thing that I've experienced, there's at least 1 million people out there experiencing just one of those things that I get to be a light to. Mm-hmm. But if I hold on to it, you know, and for any of you that are listening, well, you just don't know my experience. Well, that's not an excuse. You know your experience, but ask yourself, because what we ultimately all seek is purpose. What we ultimately all seek is fulfillment and freedom in our lives. The thing that you think is that came to break you is actually giving you a gift. Mm-hmm. And your spirit was strong enough to endure it. With the reason being that some gift or some talent or some ability that you have is meant to open up a door for you to serve people that are experiencing some of the same things that you have experienced. Purpose is rooted in service. Service is rooted in love. But how can you truly find purpose if you truly haven't learned how to love yourself and embrace the totality of your life? And I think a lot of men and women, they lean so into their pain so much that they create so many stories. And depending on what part of the family or absence,
or they replay the stories constantly.
100%. Every day you're replaying a story. I was telling Sean last night, we were having a conversation. I said, a lot of the times when you ask me, like, what's on your mind? What are you thinking? I'm literally thinking nothing.
Oh my God. For some reason that drives me nuts. I'm like, there's no way you're thinking nothing. I know you're thinking something.
It's like, no, like, I'm so in, and I get into a state, and it's because I've created that safe space for myself to where, like, even when something in our relationship, because there's a lot of things that came up in the beginning that were mirroring things to me that in the past, I would have just been like, I'm good, like, I'm working through it, whatever. But we would be on whole conversations and like tears would just start falling from my eyes. And I'd be like, I'm not even trying to cry right now.
Oh
like,
my
I don't
God.
even know. But it was like I was that open and that vulnerable to where it's like, okay, this is happening. This feeling is coming from this. And it was like I was seeing the story play as we were having the conversation. And I'd be like, okay, this is happening. Oh, this connects to this. Oh, wow. Okay, well, if that connects to that, then I need to respond this way now, because in the past I responded this way. And I would literally work through it in myself, and she'll tell you, like, in real time. And I've told her recently, I was like, you know, there's a lot of things that I've processed through that you'll never hear about unless there's a reason for it to come up later, because it's not something that you're meant to carry. My mirror is my responsibility. It's not yours. And so it's just created this really healthy space. You know, and so like I said, when you truly learn to love yourself, you truly learn to give to yourself first the more deeply you love yourself, the more deeply you can love someone else. And when you've learned to traverse through all of your growth moments and growing pains in your own life, it makes it a lot easier to empathize, listen, and hold space for someone growing through theirs.
Right. Right. Okay. With all of that being said, that's how, by the way, thank you for sharing that. That was a really beautiful, thorough breakdown on what that process gets to look like. So we can clearly see how you're utilizing these things in your romantic relationship. What does that look like for you in fatherhood? Because you are truly, like, I have the 4 men in my life, you, Javante, my friend Nate, and my friend JR, who are like literally the most incredible fathers that I get to witness. How does that show up with your children?
Well, because I haven't always been who I am, learning how to create healthy space. And by the way, I always say my kids, next to my own spirit, they've been my greatest teachers.
Yeah.
You know, my kids taught me more about unconditional love than anything else.
Yes.
They also taught me about the differences, because a lot of parents try to parent all their kids the same and lead them all the same, but they don't process the same. They all see the world through different eyes, through different lenses, through different experiences. What one child may like, the other one might not like. Like, they're so vastly different. And so, yes, I've had the opportunity and the privilege of being there and guiding 6 amazing children, but I've made mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
There were times where I should have been there to protect them from certain things that I wasn't there for. And whether it was because I was salty because of things that had happened between me and their mom and things that she had done. And I was in that place where I'm trying to prove the man that I am and that I don't need you. Like, once I've blessed the relationship, and in that process, like, I'm telling them, and I'm telling myself, I'm being the example to you of what it looks like to keep going even when it hurts. You know, what it looks like to chase your dreams even when it feels like they're leagues away. But, like, even having a conversation once with my daughter, I said, you know, I was so focused on trying to be the example to prove something to your mom that I didn't pause enough to find out or to ask you guys how you were feeling. And that's something I'll never get back. You know, there's a lot of ways that I didn't show up and I blame their mom. And it's like, no, you didn't show up because you put yourself in a situation that was frustrating, yeah, and you did need to grow out of it, but you were so caught up in that experience that you couldn't see what they needed. And again, it's radical ownership. And it really plays a role. The deep introspection that I'm able to do, it's not just in my personal relationships, like in love interests. I practice that with my kids first. There's times where they come up, and I've always, from the time they were really little, my 3 oldest, when they were really little, I would tell them, if I ever do something that creates a feeling in you, or you think I did something wrong and it affects you a certain way, I give you the right to call me out on it. Because I never had a voice when I was a kid. You know, speak when spoken to. You know, like, do as I say, not as I do. It was like, I was raised like that. And so when things started happening in my life, being molested and all those things, like, I didn't tell anyone.
Right.
I didn't have a voice.
I
didn't
was
feel
the
like
same
it
way.
mattered.
Yeah.
And so, like, I never wanted my kids to feel that way. And so they've always had the space with me to have really hard conversations, even if they got to yell to get it out. Only thing that I would ask is, don't curse when you talk to me. I'm still your father.
Yeah.
But I give them the space to do that. Perfect example of an experience I just had with my daughter, Kennedy. You guys met her. She was with me at the event, the
Moving
healing
mantra.
the moving mantra, yeah. But that's my girl. Like, she's been my girl.
I love Kennedy.
from
Hi,
day
Kennedy,
one.
if you're listening. Hello.
How old is she?
Kennedy is 22.
Okay, she's a grown.
Yeah,
woman.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's 22. She's about to be 23. And anyway, I had gone over to her mom's, and she was sitting there, and she was very emotional. Like, there was a lot of stuff that she sees coming up, even in her relationships now. And, you know, there was experiences that they had when they were with their mom when I wasn't there. And she was explaining to me, like, you weren't there. And it was like, I went immediately into defensive, like, well, there were reasons why I wasn't there. And I started talking about all the reasons why I wasn't there and all the things that happened. And though it was valid, like, when I went home that night, it didn't sit right with me. Like, I barely slept. Like, because whenever I have a disagreement with someone and it's strong and there's a lot of emotion around it, I always process it afterwards and I assess how I showed up, what I said. Could I have communicated this better? Was I clear when I made this point? Did I even need to make that point? And that night I realized that I was wrong. And so the next day she had come over to the house, or maybe it was a couple days later, I can't remember, but she had come over to my place and I was in my office and she was standing in my kitchen and I walked out of my office, I came in the kitchen and I just hugged her and I said, I owe you an apology. I said, because last night, or when we had the conversation, I was so focused on explaining why things happened that I couldn't see and hear that my little girl was just saying, I just need my dad. It wasn't about what happened back then. That little girl that needed her dad then still needs her dad now. Yeah. And that's what you were asking for. And I said, I'm sorry that I didn't listen. And so it's like we said, like the growth never stops. But my kids, it's just something different when you are actually responsible for another soul.
Yeah.
You could be the greatest provider and still be absent as a parent, and that's a lot of things. Like men will say, well, I take care of mine. Well, are you there? Do you communicate?
Yeah.
Do you show up in the way that makes them feel safe? Do you feel like a safe space? My 24-year-old son.
Is that your oldest?
Cade, yeah.
Okay, so you have the oldest is 24 and then the youngest is?
Yeah, the youngest is 4.
Okay.
No, 5. Maya just turned 5.
Wow.
And so it's like, it's beautiful. I love it.
So you get to start all over with her, essentially.
Like, and as long as things keep going great, like, I'll keep having kids. Like, I'm like, this world is messed up. Let me put some soldiers in it.
He's like, I'm down to have more.
Yeah, because Sean, she wants another child. And that was a conversation because that was a non-negotiable for her. Like, I want to have a child. And so I'm like, yeah, I just want to make sure that, because if I get into this relationship, I want a partner.
Right.
And if we build the foundation and the infrastructure to be able to support that, I'm 100% down with being a father.
Yeah.
Again.
That's so beautiful. I really respect you for that, truly, because that is a rare thing. Very, very rare.
Yeah. But I think I love being a dad. I don't think I know it. Like, I love being a dad. Like, when I think about men out there who don't take care of their kids, I know that they're little boys who just never healed and never had that experience, but I'm just like, I can't imagine knowing that I have children in this world that are growing up not knowing me, not learning from me. And some fathers, it's like they feel like they're defending their kids by not being there. I'm no good for them, whatever. Just like me trying to take my life. I've been there, so I can empathize with it. But being where I am now, it just makes me want to love even more. But something too, I have no attachment to my kids, just like in relationships or any other area in my life. It's like attachment is the root to all pain, and I always tell my kids, and I've told them since they were young, you don't belong to me. I've been blessed with the privilege of experiencing you. In the same way that I can teach and guide you, you also teach and guide me. And I feel one of the main roles as a father is to remind your kids who they are, so that when they go out into the world and they're trying to find themselves because of the education system, the workforce, and friendships and relationships and all these different things, as you get older, because they remind you who you are. And so there's the reciprocation of that. As they grow, you have to also remind them who they are. And so it's like, I took that, each of them, when they were born, I would ask, what have you come to teach me? What have you come to teach me? And so I don't see my kids as just my kids. They're growing up in a body that has an age on it, but they're divine beings. They are eternal, just like I am. And so when they say certain things, even Maya, like, she says things. That's my youngest, my 5-year-old, but she'll say things sometimes. And I'm like, gosh, like, and I really listen. And I'm like, I know conceptually she doesn't fully understand what she's saying, but she has no idea the depth.
She's like, that was a knowledge bomb.
Yeah. Children are so smart. And
they
just
are.
Because they can't communicate or articulate things the way an adult does, like, if parents actually slow down and shut up long enough to listen to their kids, like, it's a game changer. And I've always wanted to be that for my kids. And that's why it mirrors. How you do one thing is how you do everything. That's why it mirrors in my relationships. But I had to heal, because in relationships, because I'm wired that way as a parent, when I would initially, when I was younger, when I would see the inner child come up and throw temper tantrums and yell and scream and throw things or never take ownership or responsibility for the mess they made in the floor or whatever, the mess they made in their life, I would go into father mode in my relationships. Well, this is why, because I see everybody like children. You know, especially in today's society, I'm like, you're just all just a bunch of babies running around. Like, you're lost. Like, you're talking about what it means to be a man. You're arguing about what it means to be a woman, and you don't even know who the hell you are. Like, it's like, and then the whole woke thing. I'm like, you're all sleepwalking. Like, you're not awake. Because if you were awake, nothing that pertained to that life prior to you awakening would take such a root in you that it would rule how you communicate. It would rule how you connect to people or disconnect to people. Like, you're not awake. You're sleepwalking. And so it's like, I'm a conscious realist. Like, I'm a very direct person. And I say these things not...
Conscious realist. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm just real. Like, it's not like people... This is why I just post the stuff that I post on social media. It's rare that you see me really give a bunch of energy. Like, but there'll be moments when it happens. But for the most part, I'm like, a lot of people aren't ready for direct truth. Mm-hmm. They say, I want help. No, you need truth.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be your coping mechanism or your crutch. If you are out of alignment, I'm going to challenge everything in you that makes you out of alignment because I love you.
Right.
Love doesn't mean I'm going to call you out on your BS because I care. No, if I care, I'm going to address the deficiencies that are keeping you from being the most amazing, most powerful, most beautiful version of you. And if that bothers you, I love you, but I gotta love you from over here. Mm-hmm. Like, go live your life, peace to your journey.
Right.
You know, but man, there's so much that I see online. Everybody's sharing an opinion. Everybody has an idea, and everybody's trying to speak a truth. You just watch one reel, and now you're regurgitating what they said, and all of a sudden, you got likes and comments. So now your little dopamines are getting released and you feel so hyped now. I'm getting attention. I'm getting validation and it feels so great. You know, let me post more videos like that. But then the crazy thing about it is when you start posting and it's not something you're regurgitating based on what you heard, when you start actually talking, you sound foolish. Like,
or they're not living it, and everyone's like, oh, this person's on social media showing up this way, but I know that motherfucker in real life, and he ain't actually like that.
Right, and I'm like, and you see this with a lot of conscious or spiritual influencers. I'm like, what are you influencing? What are you really influencing? Like, you haven't even influenced yourself. And so when I look at it, I'm just like, man, the standard for me, for myself, is up here.
Right.
And I'm working every day to be that stronger, wiser, more connected, more loving version of myself. And because I call myself on my own BS, I'm going to love you with the same depth in which I love myself. And I'm going to call you on your BS. Because ultimately, none of us loves living a life out of alignment. We can defend it all we want, but you don't love it.
That's so true.
You don't love arguing all the time. Your ego loves it. Because your ego needs to protect the masks that you've created. The mask that you wear for your parents, the mask that you wear for your partner, the mask that you wear for your children, the mask that you wear for your colleagues at work. Your ego needs to be validated because you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe to be 100% of what you want to be or feel you desire to create in your life. You don't feel safe in your relationships. You don't feel safe at work. So you have to show up as something you're not to mask all the insecurities that the little boy or little girl in you has. You know, you have a lot of the men talking about the women, like we talked about. And this is just something, I know we keep going back to it, but you have a lot of the women talking about the men. And I'm like, the mere fact that you're still sitting there in this angry, bitter, vindictive energy shows me one thing. And it shows me that you are so unself-aware. Like, you lack so much self-awareness within yourself, and you don't even like what you feel, that you need to make someone else responsible for why you feel what you feel. Because to stand in front of the mirror and take ownership of that is too hard.
So what do you think about the whole, like, narcissist conversation? Because it's usually women who are throwing that term around, But the reality is that some motherfuckers really are.
Yeah.
You know, so that's tough.
Or the spiritual narcissism as well, because sometimes in the spiritual community, people can get gaslit so hard into thinking that really they are only the problem, when it's like, well, no, you cheated. Like, of course that's going to make me feel some type of way. You know what I mean? So, yeah, please.
Yeah.
Take it away. Your little dopamines already.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing about narcissism, you know, I'm not big on labels and, you know, how people, because it's a literal condition. Like, if you're dating a narcissist, you're not going to be like, oh, he's a narcissist, even if you're not with him. Like, I've seen so many videos that talk about it, because if he was truly a narcissist, like, he's coming at you, or she's coming at you. She's going to stir up problems. They're going to stir up problems because they cannot accept that they did something wrong. They cannot accept or own the role that they played in creating the reality. And so they have to deflect. They have to make you look bad. It'll never be a, you know, yeah, I did make that decision and I shouldn't have done that. A narcissist will never take ownership. And again, narcissists are just really disconnected children that grew up and now they're in adult bodies. And so you look at most children who don't grow up in a healthy environment. Hell, even children who grow up in a healthy environment, when they're really young and they don't really understand ownership, like what's mine, what's yours, you know, if I do this, there's a consequence to it. They don't know really at that point how to emotionally regulate. If they're never taught that, then 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is they grow up and they become quote unquote narcissist. Because what's happening is that little child that never learned boundaries, that little child that never learned to take accountability for themselves, that little child that never received love from their mom or their dad, you know, and was never really validated in their own power, their own capacity to hold and be present with themselves, they grow up to become adults. And so when things happen, because they're always seeking that validation, anything that comes up that devalues, or that they feel devalues who they are or devalues the mask that they wear, the moment the truth starts to peel away that mask, they fight to keep that mask up. Because if this mask comes down, it's going to show my wounds. You know, and so when we're addressing this idea of narcissism, you have to understand that you're really just dealing with underdeveloped children who have now grown into this adult life, and they've learned to wear masks really well. And when those masks get threatened, even when they're not threatened, it'll get to the point, if it's really a severe case, even if it's not threatened, they have to constantly show up to be a certain way. They have to constantly be the center of the experience, of the community, of the relationship, of their position on their jobs, like, because they're ultimately seeking validation.
Or also even just seeking to get their needs met, because also as a child, then they usually had to use manipulation tactics to get their needs met. And that's a very subtle thing, a very subtle, like Kai started doing this thing where there would be like some sort of candy or some sort of something that he knew he couldn't have because he knows the rules of what we don't put in our bodies. And he would see somebody with it and he'd be like, oh man, I really want that, but I know I can't have it. And I'm like, and every now and then, depending on what it is, I'll say, you know what, you can have it, depending on what it is. And so I noticed that he was doing that, and I looked at him, I'm like, don't do that. Don't sit there and, you know, try to subtly guilt trip this thing. Oh yeah, I know I can't have it, but I really want that thing. I'm like, if you see something that you want, just say, Mom, can I have that? Yeah. I'm like, don't manipulate. I see what you're doing. You don't see what you're doing because you're just doing it. But I'm telling you, you're using what's called manipulation to get what you want, and you're not being direct about what you want. Yeah. So next time, if you see something that you know in your mind you know is not allowed, but don't try to guilt trip me to get you to have it. Just tell me that you want it, and it could be a yes.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing, like moms, it's like, because you love your kids so much and you're so emotionally invested into them. And so I say a father and a mother's role are two completely different roles.
They're so different, and we need more amazing fathers.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Kai's dad about that last night. I have news. I have good news.
What? Are they moving up here?
They're moving up here in like 2 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh
So,
my God.
yes, my co-parent has lived in Tucson for over 4 years now, and I've been single momming it hard up here.
Awesome.
And they're
It's gonna change everything.
yes. So they're finally moving up, and it's just like the perfect time because I was telling him, I was like, but Kai needs to be around his dad more. Like, he's in this stage where I can tell he needs more masculine energy regularly. And I think that is just a crucial part. I think fatherhood is just so underrated. I hate the concept of I don't need a man and all of that. Society needs men, women need men, children need men. Like, it's just so important.
Whenever I hear women say, I don't need a man, my first thought is you must have not had a healthy father.
Right.
Because if you had a healthy father figure, it didn't have to be your biological, but if you had a healthy father or healthy men in your life, you would realize how valuable men are.
But you know what? Actually, I agree with you, but there's also another side to that. It's the men have also been programmed to that belief as well, and they're teaching it to their daughters. Because I saw this video of this dad one time teaching his daughter how to change a tire so that she doesn't need a man. And I was like, why the fuck would you teach your daughter that? Teach her how to be self-sufficient, but he did it because in the video he was like, so that she knows she don't need no man. And I'm like, well, clearly she needed you to
Right.
teach her that. So what the fuck are you
You
talking
think
about?
the teaching and the masculine role, because we are leaders, we do teach. Like, a man that loves you will try to teach you some things. Like, if he doesn't love you, he's gonna be like, do you? Like, I don't really care. Like,
Right.
he's not gonna argue to grow, you know, or try to get to a certain point. It's like a man that loves you because he is in the masculine, the visionary, the infrastructure. Even if it pertains to the vision, he's gonna try to teach you how to show up in that way because he already understands that you being you by yourself, you're beautiful, you're powerful, you're amazing. It's not that you couldn't do anything by yourself. It's just that when we come together, I'm so much more of a man when I am with you. Because it's like you're feminine. It's like the yin and yang. If you split them, you know, then there's going to be something that's missing. They need to be connected. We are
Right.
wired. Humanity is wired for connection. We're not wired to be disconnected.
Right.
We are wired for that flow to be there. And there's a little bit of me in you. There's a little bit of you in me. You know, that's the whole yin and yang because there's the little dots in each color. It's like there's a little bit of you in me. There's a little bit of me in you. And when you realize that, it's like, no, like as a man, something I told Sean, I was like, I need a partner. I need a partner. Like, unless I'm going to be isolated and just stay to myself for the rest of my life, I'm not wired for that. As a matter of fact, I used to be, but as I healed, I'm like, I'm not wired to be alone. Like, I'm not wired to just give my energy to things that don't fulfill me. Having a partner, and that's why I'm glad I did get married so young, is because as I grew through that, I learned so many mistakes that a lot of people don't learn until later. And there's just something about having kids. When you have kids, I tell people all the time, like, when you have kids, having children will grow you in ways that you will never grow
So true.
by yourself. Because when you are actually responsible for who this person becomes, and this person mirrors you to you in ways that nobody in your life will, and you can't be mad at them for it because you know they learned it from you. It's like you have to take accountability for it. And because if you don't, it's gonna, when they start getting older, and like my grandma used to say, and they start smelling themselves, you gonna see yourself. Like, that's what my grandma, when they start smelling themselves, you gonna really see yourself. And so, like, I'm so mindful of that when it comes to people, you know, male or female. Like, let's remove the labels. Let's remove, you know, toxic this, toxic that, you know, men ain't shit, women ain't shit. Let's remove all the labels and really start just focusing on ourselves. If we spent as much energy and as much time focusing on what brings me joy, what brings me peace, creating a life that we actually love, and then creating healthy boundaries to protect that space so that only that which is in alignment with us can come in. If we spent that much time as we do pointing fingers, sharing opinions, blasting other people, if we spent that much time, even if we took, if you only spend an hour on social media a day, which I know, you know, most of you spend way more time. I was going to try to, but you spend way more time on social media than you should. But imagine if, just say it's 3 hours a day max. Say that for that 3 hours that you're posting and commenting or watching reels and scrolling, doom scrolling or whatever. Imagine if you took that 3 hours and you said, in this 3 hours, I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to tune the noise out. I'm going to evaluate where I am. I'm going to do some self-introspection. I'm going to ask myself how I'm showing up in my life. I'm going to look at the relationships that I have. I'm going to ask myself, are those relationships healthy? If they're not healthy, is there a decision that I need to make? Is there a way that I'm showing up in this relationship that's not in alignment with what I say I want? Is this relationship in alignment with what I say I want? Is the job in alignment with what I say I want? And do the deep introspection and the evaluative work to evolve. If you were to do that every single day, even if you just say, oh, that's 1% better. If you did one new thing a day to focus on you and that was your only focus, in 100 days, you're going to be 100% better than where you are now. We make too many excuses to be lesser versions of ourselves. Like we said in the beginning, like we as humans are so powerful. There are so many experiences in this world that we can have. There's so many experiences with each other that we can have, but we spend so much time talking about the dramas and the he said, she said, and what didn't happen for me, and I went through this, and I'll never trust another woman, and I'll never trust another. We spend so much time living in the story playing in our head that the movie of our life is passing us by. And when you truly take your power back, that's when you start to rewrite the script. That's when you start to direct things a little bit differently. That's when you start to act out new parts, and you get to remove those that have played major roles when they should have just been extras. You get to reshape and retell the story, but it's a choice you must wake up to every single day. And until we start making that the main focus, everything that you keep complaining about and putting your energy into, you're going to keep giving birth to it.
Yeah.
Women, you're going to keep incubating. Whatever you're holding on to, you're going to keep incubating it. And as long as you're holding on to it, you're going to keep giving birth to it until the lesson comes, the wisdom comes, and you detach from it. You learn to breathe again, get from up here, and get really settled back into your body. It's okay. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to have the answers. It's okay to make mistakes. Because ultimately, this is something that I started saying, if I can get it out, is there's no such thing as mistakes in life. There's only lessons.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen from day to day. You don't know how this person is going to show up or what job is going to come or not going to come. You don't know anything that's going to happen the next day. You are literally creating it in the now, in real time, all the time. And when you truly just learn to settle and say, you know what, this doesn't feel good right now. I don't like the way this feels. Okay, what am I thinking about right now? What am I judging? What am I criticizing? What story am I letting play? Especially for women, because you hold it. For men, when you hold on to it, what begins to happen is, because you are a visionary, whatever you put your focus on, it expands. You build a foundation for it. You create infrastructure for it. And so whether you are in a negative state or a positive state, those gifts don't stop working. Energetically, in your masculine, in your feminine, women, you're going to incubate, you're going to tap so deeply into that problem that you're going to overanalyze. You're going to carry it and carry it and carry it. And you're going to keep playing that story over and over again. And it's going to keep coming up into your life. Men, you're going to keep carrying it. You're going to get a vision for all the reason that this can't happen and it can't happen for you. And all women are like this and this is why. And now you're going to start creating infrastructure, seeking out information that backs what you say you believe to facilitate a stronger foundation for that story, which you now give yourself an excuse to call strength. I'm like this because I had to learn to be strong. No, you actually became weak. You dismantled, using your own energy, you dismantled your own integrity. Same with women. You dismantle your own integrity to yourself when you incubate all the shit that doesn't serve you. And so when these people come, when these opportunities come, like, they're such an amazing gift, because relationships, as you said earlier, they are the greatest mirror.
They are.
It's like, thank you. Like, when people come into my life and they go out, it's like, thank you for that lesson. Thank you for exposing me to me. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to see something that I couldn't see before. And then what I started noticing happening, the more I did that, you know, like with one of my last relationships, you know, and I was like, if it's not her, then it's going to have to be an angel coming out the sky. Well, it wasn't her, you know, like,
yeah.
But even after that happened, I was so proud of myself, because I realized even though there were so many things that were great, there was a lot that was out of alignment in that season of my life. Old me would have tried to push through it. And I remember having the hard conversation, and it was an emotional conversation for her when I was like, I have to be here. Like, I have to focus on this. Being intentional about what I'm creating. And right now, the timing just isn't there. We're out of alignment. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you. I love you enough to let you go because I can't create the experience for you that you want right now. And that makes me feel emotional just thinking about it, because old me, seeking validation me, would have went and tried to do all the things, even though it was so hard and it was stealing from what I really wanted and what I really wanted to create, because I needed them to tell me, you know, I love you. You're such a good man. It's like, I don't need somebody to tell me I'm a good man now, because I know. When you know you're a good man or you're a good woman, and I don't mean good because, I mean, everything is perception, right? So I guess a better way to say it.
We know what you mean. Yeah. We know what you mean.
I say, I know I am a conscious man. I am consciously aware of my mental and emotional faculties. I am consciously aware of my divine capability to create the life that I know I have a desire to create, a life that fully aligns with me at a soul level. And as a result of that, I create a life that I love. And anything that happens that's not what I love, it doesn't serve me, so it doesn't deserve me. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because I didn't like you. It's like, no, we just weren't in alignment.
Right.
You know, and so when it comes to relationships in any area, business, work, like, I'm not measuring up to anything. You know, it's something Arvin said to me when Tony Robbins came out for KBB 2.0. He was like, Princeton, you're a lion. He was like, when a lion is in the room, they don't need to roar. People can clearly see they're a lion. And so I don't feel the need to be outspoken and expressing myself and letting everybody into my life, because it's kind of become this common thing that if you're on social media, you need to let people see more of you. And it's like, why? The only people that get to see certain layers of me are the ones who have actually walked the journey or connected to me in a way that get access to that version of me. Every time you're online or in groups or in conversations with people that aren't genuinely there to know you, like
Right.
intimately connect with you and your journey, you are spending energy, so much energy, so much time. And so it's like, I don't live a performative life anymore.
Yeah, Casey talks about that. She's like, sorry, you don't get access to this part of me, you know? And I am more of a open book to a degree. I kind of got rid of that title a little while ago, but I am more open with my energy and who I give it to and things like that, just depending on the season, of course. But I remember, Casey, one time you were like, no, like, to get access to these versions of me, it has to be XYZ. And I do agree with that.
But humanity is a rainbow. And so it's like, I'm just saying that's how I'm wired. Because I can be, like, I'm not, like, when people, even the labels of introvert, you know, extrovert, and then they have ambivert. You can be both. Like, that's more
that's
me.
what it's called when you're both?
Ambivert,
Is that?
yeah.
Did you know that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I like it.
Yeah, I'm an ambivert. It means
Okay.
I can be in big groups and I can even be the life of the party, but I'm gonna need maybe a week after being in that group, not talking to anyone.
Maybe
like,
what?
I'm
You said your human design is...
manifesting generator.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I have to be very conscious and cautious where I put my energy.
Yeah.
Because it's big energy. And so there's a responsibility the more aware you become. Like, one of my mentors told me years ago, he said, Princeton, the more your impact grows, the more time you're going to need for yourself. And so, again, like, I used to be the life of the party. I was at every event, like, but the more I've grown, it's like I'm very particular about who I put myself around. You know, and it's like, I'm not trying to have a bunch of superfluous conversations and like surface level, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it drains me, like, my neck gets tight. I feel like I'm getting a migraine thinking about it. Like, no, because I don't want to perform for you. I'm the type of person, if you're having a very surface level conversation, and I'm not saying if you don't know me and you're just communicating, but if it's more of that energy, like, you're performing but you're really not saying anything, like, I'm the type of person, I'll be like, and I'll walk away from you.
I feel like you have to carry the conversation. It's like this performative, like, interaction, yeah, I feel that way too.
It's so draining. I'm like, I don't, and people would be like, you talk a lot, and it's like, I gotta fill the space, because if I'm going to be here, I need the energy to be a productive energy, even if I have to be the energy that's producing. Like,
you're like, I showed up great that night.
you know what's crazy? I had an experience recently with my oldest kid's mom, like with all the stuff that happened around Charlie Kirk and all that stuff. Now I won't get too deep into it, but like she starts going on, we don't think a lot alike in any way. But we were at my son's football game, like she starts going off and yelling and calling me names, and you know, and this is for men too, because so for me, for the longest time, I would be passive in that situation. There's people watching, like I don't want to look like the angry black man. But I was like, there's a point where a man must come into his energy and draw a line in the sand.
She was doing this in public?
Yeah. And so I was like, I just looked at her and I just started going off. Like, I was like, I'm so sick and tired of all these people. You got so many opinions, but most of the people talking don't give a damn about anything. You don't show up anyway to make any difference, but you want to talk about everything that needs to change. You change. And I'm just going, and at this point I'm in front of, and we're walking out and there's all these people and I could see them as I'm talking, like looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to talk to everybody now. Like that's the extroverted part of me, because I'm like, I'm a leader. Like leaders don't sit back and just be complacent and just be quiet, but they also don't speak recklessly.
Right.
I'm going to say some things right now that I should have said a long time ago, and it's going to make you feel some type of way because you're going to judge it.
God, I wish I was there to see that. It sounds amazing. Sounds incredible.
You know, but
I would be like, yo, that dude's going ham over there.
yeah, you know, because everybody has a perspective, right? There were some people, I could hear some people being like, yeah, he's right. But then you have some people like, oh my gosh, like they're judging because everybody sees through a different perspective. But the cool thing about owning my power is I don't care what people think.
Right.
I'm not performing. I'm not wearing a mask. I look at a world that my kids are growing up in that's disconnected, dishonorable. People are lovers of themselves. They have no integrity. They have no compassion. They have no empathy. No, I'm going to be a voice in it. You can hate me all you want, but I'm only going to be a mirror of what you are not. I am in complete control of me. I am a government of one, a system of one connected to all things. And I feel, empathetically, I feel the disconnect. I feel the souls. It's like when I look at certain people or people say certain things, it's like I see their spirit in chains on the inside. Like, let me out of here. Let me out of here. And so I'm like, I'm not even talking to you anymore. I'm talking to that in you. And even if that seed doesn't land tonight, it's going to grow somewhere, because there's going to be something that comes up that speaks to that.
That's so true. I've gone through that myself. Yeah.
And so it's like, what's going on with that? Phone just broke. Anyway, it's flashing like a strobe. I'm like, what is that? But no, like there's so many different layers and there's so many different perspectives in which you can hit a conversation, you know, as a man or as a woman. I just say spiritually. Like, yeah. Like there's so much noise around a lot of these topics. And again, this is why I spend a lot of time to myself, because it's like when you're constantly out and you're constantly engaging people, something that I noticed is that you start leaning more towards the direction of the people that you surround yourself with and the conversations that you put yourself in. And I didn't like that about me. Like, I was like, no, like something that I've grown to learn and really implement in my life is that no matter what the situation or the environment is, you're either the thermostat or the thermometer. You get to choose.
Right.
If something outside of you can dictate your state, it can warm you up or cool you down, you're giving power away. But when I walk into a space now, it's like, no, I can raise the energy, I can lower the energy. I can meet you where you are, or I can take you where you want to connect to yourself so that you can go here.
Right. I think it goes both ways though. Because it's like, yes, you want to be able to walk into a space and like control your energy and all of that. But for me, at least, like there are spaces where I'm like, yeah, cool me down. Like I intentionally will put myself in spaces and places where I'm like, yeah, cool me down or heat me up, you know? So I think it's just like the conscious choice of which one am I in this particular space? Am I here to show up as the one that sets the temperature, or am I the one here that is here in this moment to enjoy the 75 degrees?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about in environments where the conversations, it may not be a healthy environment.
Right.
And there's a lot of opinions or a lot of conversations going on that don't really fuel me at any level. Like, I don't want to walk, because you go into a specific environment, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to impact it or it's going to impact you.
Yeah.
And so I'm always very mindful. Like, there's been events that I've gone to and I was excited to go there. And then I get there and I hear how people are talking. I might be there for 35, 45 minutes and I'll leave.
Not the vibe.
Yeah. I'm like, nah, it's a lot of ego here.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel it like a weight. I'm like, nah.
You can always feel it.
Yeah, and then there's times where you go in and initially it feels like that because of the first few people that got into the room, and then other people start to come into the room, and then it literally always happens where I'll start a conversation and next thing you know, it started with one person, and next thing you know, there's 20 people standing around. And now we're all talking in unison about this one thing, and all of us are empowered. So I'm very intuitive and very discerning when it comes to where I go. Because another thing that I don't like is always being the one.
Right.
Because it weighs on you. Like, I want to walk into the room and just sit and listen.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like I said, if I do talk, it's because something needs to be said. I feel like someone is seeking something, or I'm just filling the space to create space so that, because most of the people may be in that space right now, they don't know how to create space. So I'll talk and I'm like, man, afterwards, I just want to be quiet. Once it's like you get the engine going, it's like, all right, now I want to hear you. And that's something even in my relationship when Sean gets quiet, and I'll ask her, like, what are you thinking? Or even when it comes to the vision of what we're creating in our life, like, what do you see? Because I can talk about what I see.
Yeah.
I've been an entrepreneur and I've been doing this work for over 20 years. So it's very easy. I have deep clarity when something comes to me. And so I'll ask her, but what do you see? Where do you see you fit? How do you see yourself showing up? And I think even for a lot of women, being asked this question, that's a hard question to answer because a lot of women have grown up in situations where, just like with a lot of men, they didn't really have a voice. Their feelings didn't matter. They didn't have spaces created for them. And so on average, they don't just sit around and think about, oh, like, I could do this in this relationship, or I could show up this way in this relationship. It doesn't happen until the mirror comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not showing up. But then when that happens, the self-judgment comes in. Then the inadequacies come in because you're not thinking about where you can go and what you can be and what you can manifest. You're thinking about, what if I don't show up this way? What if I don't create this way? What if I'm not good enough? And that's a sign that you never really had a voice. You never really connected to yourself to where you see that you bring value to every space that you're in. And whatever that vision is, if it's in alignment for you and it's what you desire, there's something that you're gifted to bring to it. And a healthy man is going to create space for you to do just that. It's not going to be like, babe, like, let me lead, you just follow. No, like, I don't want a follower. I want a partner.
Right.
I want someone who's just as powerful as me in their own divine way, who shows up in their life. But there's so much conscious work and healing work that needs to happen, and so much responsibility we need to start taking within ourselves in order to get to that point. And I think with everybody talking about change, it's like, I really feel like people haven't begun to scratch the surface, especially in this world where it's so noisy now.
Right.
It's too easy to share opinions. And then when you got millions or hundreds of thousands of people sharing that same opinion, the noise is immense right now. And unless you can create sacred space to step away and be with yourself, and it will be hard I deeply empathize with people who are evolving or awakening in this season of the world, because I didn't have all the noise. And I know how challenging it was even for me back then, when the only voice I was really warring with most of the time was my own.
Yeah.
But now you're letting all these people into your headspace, all these stories, all these opinions, all these belief systems. And it's not just one. They're all coming from different perspectives and different ideas. And when you're seeking and you're like, I want to grow. And now you're listening to this mentor, and then you're listening to this mentor. Oh, this woman said this and that was good. And all day you're saying things and you don't even slow down enough to see, wait a minute, do these perspectives contradict? And so that's why when you go to move or you go to make a decision, you become so indecisive because you've consumed too much information.
Analysis paralysis.
Right. You have too much up here.
Yeah.
Too many minds. And you need to become singular in mind. What do I desire? How does this heal me? How does this open up me? How does this create the life I want? I'll never be anybody else in social media. All I can be, I'm a one of one. And so the one person I need to spend the most time listening to is myself. And that is what has helped me to evolve as a partner. That's what's helped me to evolve as a father and as a leader. Because before I can go out there and teach or guide or lead someone else, I must first learn to teach, guide, father, mother, myself. And when I say father, mother in the masculine and feminine, I must learn to nurture myself.
Yeah.
I must learn to intuitively listen to myself. I must learn to hold myself and incubate within myself the vision that in my masculine I carry. I must learn to create structure for myself. I must learn to create the opportunity for myself. I must learn to create a safe space for myself. I have to be divinely in alignment with my own energy before I can go and give the right energy to someone else. And until you get to that place, like, you don't operate in the capacity to fully lead people to that place, because you can't take somebody somewhere you haven't been. And so that it's just, like I said, the integrity is here. And so I don't talk about a lot online, because I'm like, if I really engage this, like, people online don't know me.
Well, they're gonna know you more after this episode, and I just want to speak to everything that you said right now, because, like, those of you who are listening, that was like a blueprint right there. Like, if you were listening to every step-by-step question and process that he just ran himself through, that is a blueprint to start achieving more self-mastery. So if you're listening, play it back, do that type of check-in, ask yourself those types of questions to really achieve the clarity and solidity and just getting anchored in your character and your needs and your desires and your wants and your values. That's the blueprint right there. Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's always you versus you.
Yeah.
Always
well,
you.
Yo, we could sit here and talk.
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm like, I gotta go pick my son up. He's gonna be at parent pickup, and I'm gonna still be talking.
Thank you so much. Where can people find you on social media?
At Princeton Clark. Everything. You can Google my name. It has built-in SEO. Princeton Clark. You can find all my stuff that way, or go to PrincetonClark.com. I have a few different businesses that are coming up, but also I have a new book that's coming out, and that's the Legacy Blueprint. And that's for all my entrepreneurs out there. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, it talks and teaches you how using your LLC, how getting your business credit set up, how that creates the foundation so that you move from hustle to flow in your business, and you can focus on really doing what you love, because there's trillions of dollars of money out there that's flowing, but we were never taught how to get it. So the book teaches you how to set up your LLC the correct way to build business credit, to get access to OPM or other people's money, so that you can use that to build your business and focus on doing more of what you love. And the cool thing about it is you can rinse it and repeat it. Wealthy people don't have one business, they have multiple, and all of those businesses are working for them because they got access to money that was available, and all the money you get access to is tax-free. Now you can put that money back into your business. Now your business is working for you as opposed to you working for it. Now you go into creating trust, getting IULs, and all these different other things that create a legacy. And so it's financial education, but that'll be coming out October the 25th.
Beautiful.
So there's also a free ebook, the LLC to Legacy, that you can get access to. But I'll make sure you guys get that link if you guys want to share it for anyone out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing yourself and your wisdom and your heart and your passion with us. I'm so, so grateful for you. Until next time, guys. Bye. Bye.